And
Right.
like sometimes you'll see audit committees, budget committees,
Sure.
but why list a couple?
Right, if you're not going to
Right.
specify everything that entails, right.
Do you have any ad hoc committees now?
We do. Every time we have an event, we
Okay.
put a committee together.
That's very true, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you choose to abstain from a vote, is it a negative or a positive or is it neutral? Are you out of the,
It's a nothing,
it's a nothing?
but somewhere, I mean, if you're gonna abstain from a vote, you have to have a good reason.
Yeah, well,
You can't just
I'm-
abstain?
You should, then you're not being a very good board member. I mean, I'm just that, you know, if somebody abstains, it's because it's a conflict of interest. I mean, there has to be a reason, not just because you're not willing to give your vote.
yeah, it means.
And it still goes to the
But
two-thirds,
usually.
like your
means-
existence still
That's
It's like,
counts as
it's like you don't, you're
two-thirds.
not, it's like you're not a person.
You're not a
Right.
voter.
It-
Okay.
When we were.
But don't let people abstain just to abstain because they're not willing to give their vote.
Mhm.
I mean, in some school districts, I've actually seen if a board member wants to abstain, they have to state the reason
Mhm.
Right,
out loud.
yeah.
We should write that into the Constitution.
I like that, yeah,
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
needs to be a
Let's
So
write
if
that
specified
somebody, if
statement.
somebody isn't willing to
I agree.
vote because they don't want their opinion known, then that's not the role of the board.
Right.
Mhm.
Right,
Because
exactly.
then,
It's not a
then
popularity
something could
contest.
happen
Sure.
and then
Yeah.
it's
Let's write that in.
unbefitting.
Sorry,
to
Or if
the-
anything,
I'm
they
just
just
kind of
have
like
to-
out there.
No,
but I-
Absolutely.
I-
Yeah, no, agreed.
We,
But
Sonia,
at least-
Patsy, and I, when we last went to a conference this past semester, we had learned essentially that when an abstention is made, it inevitably results in a no, because the person, it's not counting as a yes, and it's not counting as a no, but in effect, because it wasn't voted up, it goes to a negative, because
And
it's
other
one
people
less
start, and
person.
people start paying attention to
Yeah.
it, and then they start learning more, they might vote no
Sure.
as well. I think it gives a psychological effect as well.
Yeah. So we need to make
Good
that
idea.
state, it needs to be stated.
Usually
why.
it's because it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
If it's not a conflict, and I mean, you know, because voting on, because you work somewhere, or your spouse or your partner works somewhere, you know, there's a reason why you can't fairly vote on something. Otherwise, you should be voting, that's your
Right.
role.
Mhm. Well, you have to do the same thing when you're called in for jury duty. If there's anything that could put you in harm's way, you have to say it's, you know, blah, blah, blah.
And I was recently on a murder trial, and
Wow.
the excuses people gave were just kind of crazy. Every time the judge like didn't listen, I'm like, thank God. 'Cause it's like, if I have to sit here for 6 weeks, they're gonna sit here for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Double murder.
That was
19 years
jury
old.
trial? Your jury trial,
19 years
wow.
old.
Oh.
Worst thing I've ever done.
God,
Same age as my then 22-year-old cat.
wow.
Anyway.
I was summoned for jury duty last semester on the first day of classes, and I said I'm a student, and that's all. And then I hung up, and I got a letter saying, you have been temporarily relieved of.
Oh, well, that's good.
Me too.
But I mean,
I said, I'm not a citizen, I'm not allowed to do this,
Yeah.
and they keep sending me the letter
That's
every
so
semester.
interesting.
What do you expect me to do?
yeah.
Yeah, that was an official one that.
That's really,
Okay,
yeah.
that's right.
I had a friend
I
who
have
moved.
one this
from-
semester, the first day
Really?
class.
Yeah, don't, just,
Yeah,
you
well, I mean,
call
I
and
have
say
to
you're a
go to
student,
class,
yeah. And I had a friend who moved to a different state, and they're called to.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I
for
do.
Michelle? Okay,
Um,
great.
So the two for like removal procedures, there's a vote of no confidence and then there's impeachment. When I read both of those, they sounded so similar. What's the difference? What is vote of no confidence?
Well, a vote of no confidence usually happens first, and then impeachment happens. Usually it doesn't just, usually when somebody is impeached, it doesn't happen at the same time as the no confidence. Usually it's a double action. So a lot of times if there's a vote of no confidence for somebody, usually that might get the person to resign. It never gets to impeachment.
I see.
So you hope that it doesn't get, impeachment is a horrific thing to go through, right? So
I've been
no
through it.
confidence.
Yes.
would
I've
be-
been through it.
It's tragic.
Remember I told you about that?
Oh, that, yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, a lot of times we see
Our case.
for governing boards of districts, colleges, or K-12, there's a vote of no confidence, but nothing ever happens from it. I mean, there's a vote, but then the person stays on the board. They don't decide to go all the way to impeachment, so they're not the same. Impeachment is